Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Hope you all are having a great weekend. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday so far. And of course, make sure you guys have a good start to the week. Um, Next week's gonna be, hopefully it's gonna be good. I have a lot planned and hope things go well. Um, I'm a little bit tired, so there's that to consider, but I'll get through. I know I'll get through. I should stop going to bed so late, but gotta create a habit of doing that. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And of course, I'll give a few minutes to let people get into the chat before we get started. I'm think about starting at around the 2 minute mark, 2 3 minute mark when people start coming in. You said, what do you think about the Guinea coup that happened? Um, I think it's disappointing. I think it's unfortunate. I wish that it didn't have to happen. I also wish that the president would have stepped down because there have been issues with him for the past couple of years, and this has really been boiling. But I also wish that the military didn't feel the need to coup the government, because there has been reports, based on the New York Times. However, it's not 100% sure, but they were U.S. trained, and the U.S. government said that they didn't know that that's what they were up to. So it's a hot mess. I do think that some stability can come out of it, but I think this is just a lesson that Africa's youth, African institutions, whatever it may be, need to focus on stability, professionalism, and really doing what's right instead of focusing on their own interests, power grabbing, and then it just creates this whole tug of war. With that being addressed, we're going to be talking about, of course, the preparations for Liberia's Centennial. Was my bad. We're going to be looking at that. We'll be preparing for the Liberian Centennial. So there are a couple of things that I would like to bring up, and some of it I touched last night. Others of it I'll go more in depth. I'll also be speaking on the Bakari Sellers situation with him, becoming a Liberian lobbyist. Um, Take it as you may. So, so like I said, take it as it may. Um, but we're gonna be going over a couple key things. I just want to make it clear that we will be going next year. We'll be going in May. Ooh, I'm verifying more towards between May the 8th and May the 15th. One of those 2 weeks, preferably the week the week right after I graduate. But we're gonna go in May, and we're gonna be visiting the country, touring the country, getting things, you know, in order, and seeing what we can do. So that's where we are. Is anybody here? Because I'm just like, I only see two people. So I'm like, man, a lot of people must be sleeping in today. I understand. I ain't tripping because it's hard to stay awake. It's hard to stay awake. So I will get to it. I have two important points, and then I will elaborate more on what I did yesterday and also some more backgrounds to it. So just be aware of that. So I got this idea from Baruti. He's usually in the chat, and he wanted me to speak on the whole Bakari Seller situation. So I will be speaking on the Bakari Seller situation and him becoming a representative of Liberia. Like I said, you can take it as it may, but that's what he is planning to do. He's planning to be a lobbyist for the Liberian government and, of course, rebranding the country. So I do have an article that I would like to share with you guys. So here's the first piece of it. So Liberia hires CNN analyst for image rebranding in the US. This is arranged high level meeting, excuse me, in Washington. Peace Umoja. So that's what we have planned. It says Bakari Seller said in a desperate attempt to build image with the United States government, President George Weah hires lobbyists to arrange high-level meetings in Washington, struggling for recognition. Is the question that the newspaper brought up. It says, I will be developing and executing a U.S. media and press engagement strategy for the Republic. President Weah and key officials to raise Liberia's profile in U.S. media and bring positive attention to the Republic with American and African American audiences. Bakari Sellers, President Weah's lobbyist. He said the Liberian lobbyist position that CNN Bakari Sellers has is interesting. How can this position be used to both help Liberia and AA? I think it's great to have a representative, but I think the biggest, in order for it to help, I think you really need to have African American groups leading the way because you can have one lobbyist and he can bring interest, but like we don't know what the other motives are. And so when you think of Ghana's year of return, although I don't like using Ghana's year of return as the barometer, but if we were to compare Ghana's year of return, Ghana's year of return was government led and it had been going on for years. It wasn't like 2019, it just magically became the year of return. It had been building up for years on the ground to prepare for this, to, have this annual event. And so I appreciate Bakari Sellers, not going to give him any slack. I appreciate him recognizing Liberia and at least mentioning it because most African Americans don't seem to mention or seem to be care or they're just ignorant on the subject matter. Um, but I would like it to be more grassroots. I would like more African American organizations to be at the forefront of this instead of it just being Bakari Sellers and a couple of companies, because that really shows my biggest issue when it comes to us in Africa or anywhere that we go to. Whether or not it's Black Sit, what I was reading with some Black Americans in Costa Rica. My biggest issue is it's not grassroots led. It's oftentimes very individualistic and very, non-engaging. And I just really wish that it was more engaging and more African Americans would become involved. So that's my whole situation with the Bakari sellers, being a lobbyist. In terms of how can it help both Liberian aides, I don't think it can help much because I think like I said, you need groups. You need African American groups like the National Society of Black Engineers. You need to have the National Black Journalism Association, association like for that's dedicated to Black marketers and Black economists. You need all of these different interest groups or Black organizations speaking to the Liberian government. I think it's great that he's bringing awareness. Like I said, it's going to bring awareness. But in terms of, is it going to do a significant collective effort? No, because Bakari sellers can give you a general that understanding of Liberia, but you need somebody like me in the room who is well acute and well adept with Liberian history and knows what the African American community needs and knows what needs to be done. And I don't think Bakari Sellers has that. People have general understanding of Liberia, but I need somebody who is an expert, somebody who can go in and speak on the matter from an historical perspective, a current perspective, and a futuristic perspective. Like I said, it's great, but I don't think it's going to do much as an individual person. But let's continue on. And this is from Front Page Africa Online. The Liberian government has approved liberal CNN analyst Bakari Sellers as lobbyists in Washington to improve their country's image that has been tarred by recurring reports on human rights abuses and corruption. Let's stop it right there. Let's stop it right there. That, George Weah, is on you. Like I said, this is great that you're trying to rehabilitate the country's image, but you have to do that yourself. You have let thousands, like accusation after accusation of corruption be said about you, and you haven't responded. You haven't dealt with it. You've become even more corrupt, as people would say. You're not confessing about the mansions that you're building. What happened to all of this money. Civil servants not being paid, the economy tanking down. This is all the stuff that we see. So of course your image is going to be tarred because people are seeing that it's a catastrophe. The economy shouldn't be, in tatters. People should not be going weeks without getting paid. People should not be having to protest fearing that you're going to clamp down on dissent, and you having leaders that are saying that you should be like a benevolent dictator even though you haven't done anything. People calling you a generational traitor. This is on you. Let's continue on. Sellers has been appointed to arrange high-level interaction with the United States of American government and build a positive, correct image of the George Weah led government among the U.S. policymakers. Fox News reported. You can have your grasp on Fox News. I frankly think that if it's Fox News, I'm looking at a side eye. I'm going to look at his side eyes because he says, just an observation, Mr. Sellers knows how to make those politicians make and has an opportunity to snatch up some coins as a lobbyist. Yeah, like I said, you need African American groups leading the charge, not lobbyists. Jabari, do you think that many establishment blacks, UNC, Roro, M. Dyson, secretly engaged as invest in Africa, but promote victimhood and civil rights as an empowerment tactic for the masses? I don't think so. I don't think so because if they was really about that, they would not be talking like this. They would not be, because your actions speak louder than your words. I know that's a very trite statement, but your actions speak louder than your words. And so, you know, you're talking all this, but you're secretly engaged in Africa. Then why, like, I don't understand. Then why would you be doing what you're doing? Because if you're investing in Africa and it's a success, why don't you encourage more African Americans to invest and become successful? So that's my whole thing on that. When they secretly invest, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And like I said, I'm going to be speaking for like another 15, 20 minutes, and then anybody who feels the need to add something or wants to come on can come on. Let's continue. Like I said, Fox News, you just have to be very careful. According to Fox News, Sellers wrote, I will be developing and executing a U.S. media and press engagement strategy for the Republic, President Weah, and key officials to raise Liberia's profile in U.S. media and bring positive attention to the Republic with America and African American audiences. Like I said before, African American groups need to be at the forefront of that, and Liberian American groups. Bakari Sellers, I don't think should be at the forefront of this, but it's a good start. To make his work official, Fox News reported that Sellers registered under the Foreign Agents Registration Act to work on behalf of the Liberian government, where he would be paid a salary for his work. And of homie was saying, um, Ronan was saying, snatching up some coins. You could say right there that that's snatching up some coins. So President Weah seems to be finding it difficult to build a solid relationship with the United States government since assuming the presidency nearly 4 years ago. Take that as y'all may, BL family. Frankly, I don't understand. I understand the United States and Liberia have a close relationship. I just think that if you were legitimate, it would show. Like, I think that's the thing that he said. I don't think they do. These clowns here in the U.S. have perfect hustle right here, exploiting the masses, pretending to be leaders while being high-paid cheerleaders on liberal media hustlers, media outlets. Yeah, like I don't believe for a second, Ronan, that they're investing in Africa. Like I said, actions speak louder than words, and also that wouldn't make sense because you could just advocate for African Americans just going to Africa if it was being successful. So, like, yeah, I don't believe that they're investing or engaging in Africa. So the regime of Wade's predecessor, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, saw a visitation by high-profile U.S. government officials, including then President George W. Bush, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former First Lady Michelle Obama, and others. President Wade has a immense job in the foreign support to Liberia through different programs, contrary to the Sirleaf regime, which witnessed huge international goodwill and support to Liberia. Like I said before, that's a reflection on George Weah. He said, Beside attending the United Nations General Assembly, President Wade is yet to pay a state visit to the United States of America. And with another round of general and presidential election expected in 2023, Wade's opponents are looking to use Liberia's leaders' lack of connection in Washington as a big campaign tool. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. The fact that you're using, like, not having close relationship with Washington as the opposition tool, that rubs me a wrong way to a certain degree, because it's okay to have relations with Washington, D.C., but knowing what Washington has done to Liberia historically, it's better to keep a hands-off approach. And more, instead of reaching out to the government, reach out to African American officials, African American business owners. But apparently aware of the consequences of being unable to meet the President of the United States of America or pay a state visit over the last 4 years, President Wade looks very desperate to get something done to change the dynamics in his favor. So we're gonna keep going, and then whatever your opinions you got on it, we can, you know. It says the Sirleaf regime relationship with KRL yielded enormous benefits, with the Sirleaf government benefiting millions of dollars in donor assistance and foreign direct investment. During the Weah administration, Carroll announced that it would sign a one-year agreement to support President Weah in his administration's pro-port agenda for prosperity and development. According to the KRL statement in January 2020, the one-year agreement included increased donor support and foreign direct investment in critical economic sectors of Liberia. And then it says, like Weah, like other African leaders, it says President Weah could not be the only African leader struggling to build good international image and get the attention of the international community. Michael Espy, the former Agriculture Secretary of Clinton, and Laney Davis, former Chief Counsel to President Clinton, were hired by President Barack Bo as a lawyer, as lobbyists during the administration of President Weah. Espy appeared as an on Ivorian television on behalf of Mr. Begbo's government, while Laney J. Davis, for former chief counsel to President Clinton, worked on the phones and described himself as a liaison or liaison. Sorry, not liaison, liaison. Laney, a close friend to the Clinton, advocated for Obama to choose Hillary as vice president. His buddy Hillary as Secretary of State could not help Begbo. Espy was strong in the black community, who was also a former congressman from Mississippi and just ran to be a senator and lost. And he too is a strong lobbyist. Begbos did not do the right thing and went to jail. These lobbyists could not help him. Many believe the public relations strategy employed by President Wade Bakari is not a very strong connected lobbyist, with the heavyweights hired by former President not Begbos, Begbo. They could not save him as he ended up in jail. Many believe in order to get good national image, it would have been better to do it the right thing. But with corruption and other issues of bad government, dodging the way government, it remains to be seen how Bakari can help improve the government's international image. And so that's the article on that regard. So that's the Bakari Salah situation. Um, I got a lot to say. I'm just gonna go share these preparations. Here's another one. In celebration of 200 years, Liberty Rock City Media and Julia Entertainment launched Good Life Champagne Ball in Monrovia. We're just gonna go with the basics. It says the first of its kind annual Good Life Champagne Ball aimed at celebrating at the celebration of 200 years of liberty in Liberia. Come 2022 will be launched August 16, 2021 in Monrovia. It's already been launched. Celebrating 200 years of liberty, the ceremony has been organized by United States-based Rock City Media in collaboration with famous Julia's Entertainment and Heaven Lodge in Monrovia. Although Liberia's past has not been rosy, the event with which would take place at the all-new Heaven Lounge in Liberia's capital, Monrovia, will no doubt create an atmosphere where an array of Liberians and foreign nationals will experience what the country has been through since its inception as a sovereign state. The theme of the event was specifically chosen in retrospect of Liberia's history, as 2022 will mark 200 years since the first group of slaves arrived on Providence Island. Providence Island being a swim system in Monrovia. I mentioned that in the previous video, in West African nation from the Americas. Therefore, 200 Years of Liberty gives Liberians millions of reasons to celebrate. Moreover, the decorum presentation at the ceremony by distinguished historians and other experts will not only be informative and educational, but also all embracing, said the event organizers. So that is the gist of the group comprises young and competent Liberian professionals both at home and in the diaspora with a goal to promote Liberian culture and heritage through entertainment. So that's the second preparation being prepared is Rock City. And then there is one more that I would like to bring up. And then after that, I will make my other statements. And then anybody else want to come in add some statements, they are more than welcome to do so. Okay. And of course, like I said, it's the George Weah situation with all the members. So of course you have the government doing some preparation, and that includes working with a steering committee. And so some of the steering committee, like I said, include Ministry of Finance, Development Planning member, National Port Authority member, Liberia Petroleum Refinery Company member, Bureau of Maritime Affairs member, Roberts International Airport member, Liberian Revenue Authority member, just to name some examples. And I went in depth. So on the last video. So on the last video, I brought up about Liberia honoring 200 years, and then I have um the he said Liberia wants to rebrand. It should reach out to African Americans and offer dual citizenship. That's really honestly how I feel about the whole situation. Like, if you want to reach out, you have to reach out to African American organizations and give African Americans incentives to come, because that's one of the biggest things that African Americans now are increasingly looking for. They're increasingly demanding that they get offered something, and I don't blame them. Like, we need stuff. We don't just need um just, oh, let's rebrand. No, like, we need you to start giving incentives. That's how you can, and that's also how you can improve your image. That's the thing. You have this bad image, but if you want to change the image, then you have to give people actual receipts. You can't just say to the African American community, okay, well, here we are. I hate what been going on now, because for some reason my thing is just bad. Um, but that, I think, is the problem. You have to. I would say you have to do that. So that's my whole gripe. It's like, you're not actually making amends. What's up, fam? What's good? He says, Jabari, do you think more of a push for African Americans to travel to Africa more than blacks in different countries outside the continent? Um, yes, I think there is a push, because we've seen Black Americans travel everywhere, but not in places like, we're used to seeing Black people. They did a whole article on Black people traveling to Costa Rica. Like, but we don't have that huge push of going to Africa. And not only that, going in mass and settling in groups. I think there's nothing wrong with having an expatriate community. And anybody who tells you that we are not allowed to have an expatriate community or repatriate community in some of these African countries, tell them they're disingenuous. Because when we go to the census, what do we put on the census? Because every country does a census. What do I put on the census? What do I put on the census, right? Like I said before, I had the situation when I was in South Africa, when I had to fill out an application. They said, "What race are you?" They didn't put black, they said African, colored, white, Indian, and then or Asian, and then other. Well, what at first I was like, okay, I'll just put my race is African. Okay, my race is African. It's the same thing here. When I go to fill out a census and they ask me, what is your ethnicity? What is your race? Obviously, race is going to be black and African. But when they ask you, what is your ethnic group? Well, I'm not technically Airway. I'm not technically Igbo. I'm technically not Yoruba. So what do I put down? And so that's why I support expatriate communities so that we have that way of identifying ourselves and being able to easily find each other. He says, regarding Liberian citizenship, do you think other Black people outside of African Americans should get citizenship in some capacity? Yes, particularly those in the Caribbean. I think those are the two groups that need to get citizenship: African Americans and those in the Caribbean, as well as Liberian diaspora. Do I believe that others can get it, but they can get it naturalized? If you're a Ghanaian citizen, you can get naturalized citizenship in Liberia. But I think African Americans should be given first priority simply because that was supposed to be for us, and that's really the only place that we got. Oh, thank you, Holland. I'm just now seeing you.
Yeah, I just came in.
All right, but yeah, I went over some important information about the preparations, what they're planning to do, the lobbyists. I heard that the U.S. Embassy was working on this too. Take it as it may. You go ahead.
No, I just came in, so I don't. I'm like blind as to what's going on.
So okay, so basically, I went over the fact that Bakari Sellers will be a lobbyist for the Liberian government. He said he's going to try to rebrand the country's image, rebrand George Weah's image, and George Weah's trying to do this to get a close relationship with the United States, because of course you got the upcoming 2023 election, and some of the opposition leaders are using that he doesn't have a close relationship with the United States as sort of a tool that they can use to basically say this is why we should be in power in government. You had a private organization at Iraq City Media. They're going to be doing like this celebration to mark 200 years in Monrovia. They've already started, and now they're going to. It's going to be all year, and then you have the U.S. Embassy working on it as well. So they want to partner with the U.S. Embassy. I did hear before last year that with Providence Island, they wanted to start an initiative, and they signed an initiative on that. And I do know this year they were supposed to have a bicentennial for Providence Baptist Church, but they got canceled because of coronavirus. So that's basically what I went over.
Okay.
I have, like I said, like Ronan said, I kind of got gripes with Bakari Sellers being a lobbyist and sort of rebranding Liberia's image. I just
Yeah, understandably,
and
because
then yeah, go ahead.
it's obvious who he is.
And he
I
will be
mean,
getting paid. He will be getting an annual salary, so he will be getting paid.
it's funny how everybody's getting paid off Liberia, and none of the people are getting roads and highways and running water and electricity. Isn't it funny? But everybody's getting paid.
I actually talked about that. If you watched the video from yesterday, um, I brought up the point that there's a group called Ice Miller Strategies, which they are a company, and you've probably seen the team or the people who are the head of Ice Miller Strategies. If not, I can pull it up real quick. But they're supposed to get paid 300,000 annually. Then for this marketing for next year, another group outside of South Carolina, which is Strom Affairs, which that in and of itself kind of gives me some bad gripes because Strom reminds me of Strom Thurmond, who was like that gives me bad vibes. Um, and then there's another group. They're getting paid like 25,000 annually. And the ice miller strategies, they're getting paid 300,000 annually for the next 3 years. So they're getting paid close to $1 million to do this.
And what do the people get out of it?
Oh, it's a marketing campaign. It's a marketing thing. It's to encourage African Americans to come to Liberia, but it's supposed to be a marketing slash PR relations.
I know this is a radical idea, but I can think of a way to encourage African Americans to come to Liberia. Running water and 24-hour electricity.
And citizenship.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Deep,
citizenship.
right?
Yeah. Like,
Deep, right? Wow. Who would have guessed?
and I was bringing up earlier with these preparations. It's great that they're preparing and they are at least trying to put something together, as well as, of course, we talked about earlier with Libya, the diaspora doing their thing. But it needs to be number one African American led. Number two, you need to give incentives.
Hmm.
And the third most important thing is this needs to have been a years long progress. And like I said, I don't like using Ghana as the barometer for like a year of return. But Ghana's year of return was successful because of the fact that it had been built for years. Like Ghana had the right of abode since 2000. So there were African Americans moving to Ghana as far back as 2008. If you remember on CNN, I was a baby, so I had to go look back when I was older. But you remember they were I think it was Don Lemon. It was Don Lemon, and he was speaking to these African American repatriates in Ghana, and that was back in 2008.
Hmm.
So this has been a grassroots movement, whereas this, with the exception of us, focus on Liberia and some Liberian American organizations, there's really not been that kind of grassroots, boots on the ground movement to make this happen.
Right. It just seems to me that everybody's trying to get paid.
And the thing about it is, like he said in the video, he says he's trying to change the image, change his image.
Change the image. Who I don't give a shit about his image. It's like what we concentrate on some of the dumbest things, man. Who cares about the image of a bureaucrat or a politician? It seems like nobody seems to be focused on what's the important thing. The important thing is the country.
That changes the image of itself. Like that's the thing that just irks me is like you can change the image via by like you said, running water, clean, you know, clean energy, African American citizenship, putting African Americans in representatives in government. You can change the image right there. Because people just don't get an image out of nowhere. They got that image of you because of the fact that something's going on. Like I said, if you're saying that people are mad about you because they think you're corrupt. Well, if we see the economy's going down, civil servants are not being paid, people are calling you a generational traitor, okay, the infrastructure is not up to par, then and you're not being transparent about your mansions and the net worth that you have, then everybody's going to make that assumption. You created that image. Nobody put that image on you. You created that image.
Hmm. And the fact that they're concerned about their image just says volumes.
Yeah, it's like Donald Trump. Care about the image, not care about what actually is happening.
It
Come
just
on,
would be.
oh my bad, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was gonna say, come on, iTuber, come on, we get it, come on, don't be shy.
Yeah, the irony is that iTuber is the one who was been in my ear about Liberia for the longest. And so now that we are fully on board, I'm trying to get this dude on the live stream, and he's playing like he don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
Click on the
Yeah.
link, iTuber. Send me an email. We got to connect.
Yeah, I'm about to say you are more than welcome to speak your mind. Like I said, I tell people like after 30 minutes, it was straight. People who want to come on, they can come on, and we would really appreciate you coming on. He says while Sierra Leone offers citizenship, it is strictly tied to being able to trace DNA to one of their recognized tribes. With Liberia, it should not be like that. Liberia should be open to all diaspora. It
I don't have
should
a
be,
problem with that as long as our vetting system is tight.
and
I have no problem.
I think we can make inroads. But like I said, you need to get African Americans who are grassroots, not African Americans who are like you said, like I mean, like the Bakari sellers. Like I said, get Africa, like the National Society of Black Engineers, get black marketers, black economists to speak with you.
Black biologists, black geologists.
Like people who black historians, like I said, people like me who we like. I know the history. I know what needs to get done. I've studied. I've done this for years. I've been dedicated, committed to this. You need people like me in the room.
Jabari, can you highlight that last Baruti comment?
He says Jabari and Hala, what are the barriers as to why Liberia does not have 24-hour power and access to clean drinking water for all citizens? What's the problem?
Yeah, you just read my mind. And we need to ask all of the politicians and all the people that's got Liberia in their mouth, what is the reason why after all of these years that's still an issue? And then we could just shut up and let them explain it to us. Because I would love to know.
Oh, yeah, let's keep that up for a second.
We got 1,000 political parties, and still that's an issue in the country. So what it seems to me is that being a politician has become an industry.
It is. And Joy talked about that. When we did our interview, she talked about that.
Yeah. Now the industry is not, infrastructure, fixing roads and highways, building industries. It's becoming a bureaucrat so you can rip the people off for money at the expense of your nation. I mean, am I speaking out of line here? Am I way off?
No, no, you're speaking truth. Not only clean access to clean and running water, what about access to roads, access to healthcare? Focus. We're up to date on Focus on Liberia, but one thing on Focus on Liberia they were talking about was they built a hospital, and the hospital right beside it had mold on it, and that was supposed to be dedicated to service members, and they were going in on the hospital. He was like, well, Liberia is not that rich of a country. It's a poor country, and like I get it, but you need to put investment into this stuff. Like
Hmm.
that's the thing that irks like people at like Singapore or Botswana or South Korea just got where they are because somebody just dropped it. Nah, it took decades. It took investment to build that up.
Well, one thing that is true, and I can understand the concern, is that you cannot have the established leadership there. It's obvious that if any money comes into Liberia, where that money is going to go to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's got to be independent. It can't be.
Because they haven't done anything so far. Conditions are still the same. So anytime a
They're
check or any
deteriorating.
money is yeah, anytime any money's coming in, it's going right to politicians and bureaucrats' pockets and not toward the people or the infrastructure or the country itself. And somebody needs to keep saying this, preaching it from the mountaintops, and letting everybody know this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. And I got a big mouth. There's no way in hell I could sit back and watch this stuff go down and not say nothing about it. Running water and electricity should not be an issue in Africa. Period. Period. Stop me when I start lying. What about the irrigation system?
That don't exist.
Thank you. Thank you. I want my toilet in my house. Me and Ronan was talking about this last night. In my house. See, this is where that good old fashioned Western mindset comes in. I don't ever run away from that. People want to make you feel guilty for that. I embrace it.
And the thing about it is people make like Western mindset. What do you define as Western? Because that's the very first thing. Because one of the things, whenever you make an argument or you're trying to make a point, you got to define things. What do you define as being a Western mindset? What is the characteristic of a standard Western mindset?
You know what they think it is? You have a Western mindset when you want 24-hour running water and electricity. That's a Western mindset. So you know what? I have a Western mindset. If that's how you want to define it, that's what I got. I mean, come on. Yeah, modern infrastructure, like Fly Guy said. Anything that's modern, anything like so. In other words, we gotta still have those Kopesh swords and be riding around on chariots. Then we're real. What we gonna do? We gonna tie like messages to like birds and shit, so we can keep it 100% African. I mean, we got fucking children, man. That's such a childish mind state. And you know what? You seen what I've been posting lately is a lot of infrastructure disasters to show how things should not be done.
Right. But and the thing about it, about when we talk about infrastructure, we want to be ahead of the game. That's the thing. We're not trying. That's one of the problems. We're always the last one to the party, the last one to the game. We're never first. We're always the last ones at everything. And doesn't that bother you that you're the last to everything? Because it bothers me.
And you know it bothers me because I want these qualified people to come in and deal with this subject matter because I am not qualified. I'm not qualified. Why am I researching infrastructure design? That's not my specialty. But it's so funny. All the smart people ain't doing it. The
But
people that's
see,
supposed to be smart, the people that's supposed to be intelligent and geniuses, they're not doing it for us. They're doing it for white folks. Is something wrong with this picture?
nope. And Fly Guy made a great point. He says, "What exactly is African to people against the Western mindset?" And they don't have a mindset because people will say, "Don't bring your Western mindset to Africa." but you speak English. You speak English. You're a Catholic. You're a Protestant. But you're telling me don't bring your Western mindset. You're literally Western right now. I don't see y'all worshiping Ogun and Nana Baluku and Mawu and Gede. I don't see y'all doing voodoo dances, rituals, ceremonies. I don't see y'all doing none of that. But y'all talking about don't bring your Western mindset. You essentially Western.
Right. So, in other words, we can bring Christianity, we can bring the English language, we can bring English, like American customs and all, but God forbid we want to bring electricity and running water. Then we're Western. You're polluting the continent with our Western mindset.
And also, they say y'all trying to take over the continent. And here's my response, right? Like, here's my simple response to that whole well, y'all want to take over the continent. If clearly your leaders ain't doing it, because if your leaders was doing it, we wouldn't feel the need to, or we would not feel like we would have to do this. We're doing this because we know you can't do it. We know it. You ain't gotta tell us, we know.
I wish there was somebody from Liberia in the chat room because I would love to ask them this question. If the whole purpose and goal of African Americans coming to Liberia is to bring modern infrastructure, 24-hour electricity, and running water, would you like that type of takeover? If that's how you define taking over, is that acceptable? Is that unacceptable? Making the land work for everybody and not just a few people? Because I think
This
Liberia is larger than just Monrovia, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
Yeah,
I did look at a
they
map.
did. They did. Live Positive even had to do a series called "Liberia is not Monrovia."
Right. We want to develop the whole country. We want to do a fully comprehensive land survey. We want to bring in biologists and geologists. We want to have people looking at the animals, the insects, the materials in the ground, the type of soil, everything. Comprehensive.
And that's going to provide jobs because we're going to need people to do the work.
Thank you.
At this point, Fly Guy made is a perfect statement. He says we're taking over something that's ours by birthright.
See, the
Where to
thing
lie
is,
at?
when people think of takeover, they think that somebody's trying to come in and establish themselves as an elite group of people. That's
And we're not portraying ourselves as conquerors. We're not. That's not.
wrong. Wrong. Nobody's trying to become no elite. People are trying to make the country better for everybody. Everybody. Which is really starting to mirror that. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. He said.
That's what you think we're trying to do?
He says Jabari and Holland can BIO Afghanistan contact Mr. Bakari Sellers and provide him with a blueprint as to how his new live lobbyists can benefit AAs and live. We need in order for that to happen, we need a bigger microphone. Like we're starting, like once we get access to a bigger microphone, people will follow. And we saw that just in the simple thing with the Joy interview, which I thank her so much for doing. You know, it took us like forever just to get 10 subscribers, and we get like 20 subscribers just off of one interview.
Can I feel that question?
Yes.
Because I see the thing about it is, why do we assume that these people are honest players? I don't trust that dude. I'm sorry. Maybe that's just me, but I don't trust him. I don't trust his intentions. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not saying that I'm correct. I could be wrong, but he going to have to prove it to me.
He said, "Do you guys think we should get a large group of continental Africans to speak out against this Western mindset and taking over BS?" We should, because the very first thing that upsets me about the whole the whole Western mindset and taking over, and they formed the elite. They acting like all American Liberians was living lavish and was just making money, and Joy broke it down to a great point. Well, her her whole family is both free slave and indigenous. Like, we acting like there were not indigenous people that were being assimilated into the circle. We act like it was just strictly pure Americos. And like somebody said, they don't even know if there's even a pure American in Liberia. So what's American Liberian now? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And also, one of the issues that we need to address um about the whole taking over is, I never hear that when other African countries invade and take over, or there's coups going on in countries, just like what happened in Guinea, where the military just couped the government and took over. We're doing ours a nice way. We're trying to come in and build the country. We're not doing a Guinea or a Mali and literally getting guns and bringing it to government buildings, putting guns to people's heads, and then taking over the government. Nobody's doing that.
See, this whole thing about taking over and stuff, I don't even want to engage in that type of. What I want to ask everybody, whether you're a continental Liberian, um, black person, African American here, or whatever, do you want the country to be better? Yes or no? Because if you want the country to be better, if you want the country to have modern infrastructure, if you want the country to have running water and electricity 24/7, is that like a partisan issue? Or is that a bipartisan issue? So this whole thing about taking over, listen, if the people have a corrupt government and somebody wants to take over, so to speak, in quotes, and if they take over, they provide and improve the whole goddamn country. Do you think those people care about the politicians that used to be there? Or the fact that they now have an up and running progressive nation? See, my whole thing is about, like, it's like in
And this
mathematics. If you want to bring fractions to a whole, what do you got to do? You got to find the lowest common denominator.
hmm Look at this. Look at this statement right here. He brought up a great point. He said Liberia has the most rainforest in West Africa, surprisingly, and that could be used for tourism. You can use that for tourism, but you need people who are educated, who know not to build something through the middle of the forest.
Yeah, I was talking with Ronan last night, and we said that in this whole land surveying and this comprehensive land survey, there shouldn't be any politicians involved. And if you are a politician, shouldn't you be experienced in some of the shit that we talking about?
Remember, remember what I told you earlier, Hollop. The vast majority of politicians are not in the STEM field or in the econ field, unfortunately. So a lot of these people have no clue. Like, they said, like 12 Congress people had STEM degrees. Like, that's tragic.
Yeah. Then that's the reason why they don't need to be involved. Because land surveying and all of that is not political. Developing the right of the most efficient infrastructure design is not political. It becomes political when it comes time to building it, because then you got to determine what you're going to do first, how much money's needed, blah 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 blah. Then it starts to become political. But the actual to actually map out a fucking infrastructure design, a prototype for the country, that doesn't require politicians.
I
That
want
requires
you
STEAM people.
I want you to look at these numbers. So they have academic degrees. Most of the Congress has a degree. And this is the 111th. So I'm just gonna use this is from I'm gonna use the 2000 um I'm going to use the current members, right? The vast majority of congressmen have law degrees, straight up law degrees, and then followed by business. Then some of them have no degrees at all. And then you have a couple with medical degrees, and then you got a few with science degrees.
Mhm.
But the fact that you can count the number of people with STEM degrees on your fingers is a problem.
You got all of these political parties, all these different people jockeying for position, and yet the infrastructure is like you said, it's not only bad, but it's getting worse. I want somebody to explain that to me. If you're pro status quo in Liberia, please explain to me how is this a thing? How is it that that hasn't been improved upon in years since the 80s? Make it make sense to me. Maybe I'll see your point of view if you can make it make sense.
Bruce Leroy made a point, and this is a valid point. Liberia, like most African nations, have a hard time acquiring funds for infrastructure progress. The design isn't the problem.
They don't have a problem with funding, Bruce Leroy. we've been over that in detail. They
And
don't
and,
not
and
have a problem in
also
funding.
and also one of the things that a great point. I don't like their agenda, but they made a great point. We should stop caring so much about infrastructure, about nice looking things, and focusing on investing in people, investing in businesses, investing in skills. Because the infrastructure will take care of itself once you got the people with the skills and all that. That'll take
Right,
care of itself. But you have all this shiny infrastructure and it's not being designed by Africans. Africans are not getting the jobs. Africans are not getting the technology transfers. And then what you left with? You left with a bunch of shiny infrastructure politically, but in reality, you're dependent on a foreign country to basically take care of you. Basically, you're reliant on that foreign country to build what you need when you have the people that you could have trained, you could have educated and invested in. And then when it comes time to build infrastructure, like we got our own engineers, we got our own lawyers. I mean,
right,
engineers. We have our, but in many African countries, you have a shortage of doctors, a shortage of engineers, and as a result, you can't build much because you don't have the engineers. Ghana just learned it's cheaper to use your own engineers than to import them from abroad. Well, of course.
right. Oh, please highlight Ronan's comment.
He said Bakari Sellers is a Democratic Party cheerleader. He's a subversive grifter who uses specific black power speech to draw in people whose minds have been saturated for years by black power African Americans.
Bingo. Mic drop. And that's the reason why, like, I don't want to give these people more importance than they really deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who the hell is he that we got to talk to him about anything?
Did you get the email by Fly Guy?
Did I? Hold on. Let's see. I think iTuber sent me one, and I sent it to you. I CC'd it to you.
Oh, okay.
Um,
All right.
yeah, that's from iTuber. I didn't get anything from Fly Guy.
Oh, my bad. Not if I got iTuber, my bad. Oh, thank you.
So that way you got his email.
Did he click the link?
No, but I don't think he wants to come in. Like he said, he's a
Oh, okay.
background dude,
Oh, okay.
which explains why he hasn't been responding to me. It's cool though. It's cool because
Yeah,
I
it's
wanted to
good.
do a live stream with him, but I understand.
Yeah, some people are just not
Yeah.
the talking. Yeah, it's understandable. But yeah, it's just child. It's real crazy. It's real crazy. And my thing about it is, don't you feel like like when you talk about like maybe I'll clarify. We have high expectations. That's the difference. We
Mhm.
don't have low expectation. That's the difference with us. And so therefore, what people say is some progress, we don't consider real progress, because I just need people to understand the extent of what we're talking about, right? I want y'all to compare. We're gonna do GDP. We're gonna do strictly GDP per capita, GDP, and we're just gonna talk about it. We're gonna go based off of the continents, right?
Mhm.
So it says GDP normally by continent. So Asia has a GDP of 36.383 trillion. That accounts for 38% of the world's population, 38% of the world's total GDP. North America accounts for 28% of GDP in the world, 26.298 trillion. Europe GDP is 23.614 trillion, and that accounts for 25% of GDP. South America, 3 trillion, 3.2%. Africa, 2.6 trillion, 2.8% of the world's population. Oceania, which basically is Australia, 1.894 trillion, 2% of the world's GDP. Mind you, Australia only has 25 million people. So Africa has a GDP of 2.6 trillion, literally smaller than France. And yet Africa has literally 10 to 15 times the population. We don't see that as like that's why I understand you need to show Africa. Hold on. Bruce Lee said Africas do not produce the technology nor material needed to build infrastructure. They have to import it, which increases the cost. Agree. There are very little steel mills in Africa. How can you build without steel? The problem, I understand your point, and I agree with you 100%. Here's the issue, or here's the caveat that you're getting. Steel is made from bauxite, and there is plenty of bauxite and aluminum in Africa to make steel. Because in order to make steel, you need to have bauxite. I mean, we're gonna have to import that first, but eventually, he said, Jabari, I heard someone on Dynasty Samir's channel. I don't listen to Dynasty Samir's channel. I really don't care. But he says the black people are doomed doom race because of our current situation in America and globally. What do you think about that statement? I don't think we're doomed. The problem is nobody. We keep saying it. Those who have an agenda don't have to worry. The biggest people who fear an agenda are the people who don't.
Yep. Oh, I have a special announcement to make. Just to interrupt for a second.
No, go
Do
ahead.
you do you remember the video that you guys sent me where they had the brother who designed a he actually came up with the computerized design for Umar Johnson's school.
Yes.
Remember that? I forget what show. I think it was on Information Man
Yeah,
show.
information man. Yeah.
So I sent him a message through the BAIO on Instagram. Let me read it to you. I said, "We feel terrible that you wasted your precious time, energy, and talent dealing with a black talking head like Umar Johnson. If you would like to be in a circle of professionals where your skills and talent are appreciated, please check out the Black African Infrastructure Organization, BAIO, at baioafricstan.org." So guess who's a member of the BAIO now?
Who? Oh, he is.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go. And that's who we need. He was
Thank
making.
you.
I mean, you saw it, and we saw the video, and we was irked by it. I was like, when I saw that, I instantly had to forward it to all the BL members. Look at this.
That's all it takes, people. Reach out to these people that are professionals, these people who's not appreciated, and let them know that there's a place for them. There's a place where you have people that's progressive thinkers, people that's thinking about infrastructure design, people that's talking about modern construction and stuff like that. Let people know about it.
That's really what it is. I mean, how many members have signed up to the website since we did our interview with Joy, or how many subscribers? That's all it takes. All it takes is we need a microphone. Not that people don't agree with our message. We just don't have the microphone. Once we get access to the microphone, you will see a difference in what people think about us.
Telling you, man. That's why, like the thing about it, like I said, I was talking with Ronan last night and we were talking about all of this stuff. And the thing about when you're talking about building up a country and you're talking about all of these things that it requires to build up a country, you don't have time to be depressed.
Right.
You don't have time to be worrying about this woe is me shit because you're constantly thinking about the future. You're thinking about how to build a better design, how to make things better. That's your mindset. Wouldn't you rather be engaged in that type of mindset on a consistent basis than this woe is me misery music bullshit? I know me personally, I'm not interested in nothing unless it has to do with us building up this country.
Same.
I'm
That's
not
all I've been doing.
interested in it.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I be doing the same thing, looking up, underwater construction, ocean colonization. We were having a brief conversation about that too. We were having conversations about, doing trade, how the resources we have, how they can be converted. You
Mhm.
know, what natural resource uses, what are natural resources like gold and diamonds and hydropower used for in everyday life. This is the stuff that we're discussing. Okay, we don't be discussing what be going on here. Not saying it don't matter, but here's the thing. It's like what we did a video earlier a month ago. You stay complaining, but don't want to leave the situation.
Yep.
We're not here to talk like we're not here to keep complaining. At this point, I'm just like, I gotta go. Like I gotta go. We out. We out. That's all there is.
So just within these past week or so, we got like already got an architect and an engineer.
And we can get more. There was a man who, like I said, who was mad at people who were attacking Dr. John Henry Clark,
Hmm.
and that's a person easily to reach out with. Like there are people who are willing to work with us. You just They just don't know who we are, and that's the you can't get mad at people if they don't know who we are.
Right. Word of mouth is the only way we're going to be known. And so the people who down with us, you need to reach out. If you know doctors, dentists, lawyers, economists, engineers, architects, if you know any professional people or just anybody who's interested in building up a nation, because you can always learn a skill.
Mm-hmm.
So we
And
don't want to make it seem
also,
as if we against the average person, the blue
yeah,
collar worker. We don't want to make it seem like that. But we need to get as many people as involved as possible if we're going to build up a nation.
and guess what? We've already separated, just by what you just said, we've already separated ourselves from 99% of black talking heads and 99% of black organizations. Just by that one sentence you just said. And also, that's going to be important that you guys sign up for members, because the more members we bring, the more we can get in contact with the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of this. Because during that thing I brought up earlier in the video, you're going to be having steering committees that have the Liberian police members, Liberia revenue members, port members. The Liberian airport is going to be involved in this. Every agency is going to be involved. And so the more African Americans that sign up, the more people we can sign up, the more that we can prepare for next year and say, when it comes in, preferably when it comes in May, we can hand them and say, hey, listen, we got over 300 people in this organization and we brought 100 of them, or we brought 45 of them. And then we can make moves because we have something to present them. We already got boots on the ground outside of Monrovia,
Mm-hmm.
but that's going to allow us to go anywhere in the country and instantly get support. And instantly, when we bring our ideas, boom, everybody gets home.
Like I said, man, when you think about this type of stuff, you don't have time for misery merchanthood. You don't have time to be depressed. You don't have time to be frustrated with Negroes and all of this other nonsense that people go through on a daily basis, because you're thinking about the future. You have a vision. And as they say, I don't know who said it, but a people without, what they said, without vision, the people perish.
Yep,
How many of these black talking heads are giving you a vision for the future?
none.
What are they saying besides, yo, damn son, your shit is fucked up? What are they saying besides that? I mean, you got to ask yourself that question, because this is not about no cult of personality. This is not about following nobody. Do you believe that land, infrastructure, and nationhood is the solution to our collective problems? This is not about no single individual. That's not the property of one person. That's a principle. And we need to start learning to follow principles and not following individuals and charismatic personalities.
Facts. And people need to start demanding what they want. Stop focusing on somebody, what somebody sounds good. Start focusing and say, listen, no, we want this, we want this, we want this, and if you don't, we're not taking it.
That's right.
I just want to bring this point up because it was one of the subscribers that subscribed to the channel, and she's watched a lot of our videos. And it was under the story behind the Liberian flag, and there's only 3 comments, but she posted a comment just recent, like 2 days ago, and she said, you should have more viewers, y'all should have more viewers, and
Hmm.
we should.
Yeah,
but
she's right.
but the only reason why, like I said, we don't have viewers is we were not exposed. And now that you know we got some exposure, it meant a lot, because that interview, but like, for the last couple of videos, we couldn't even get 300 views, like, on a live stream. We was only getting like 100, maybe maxing out at like 200. The scouting report one got 278, and then it jumps from that to like 700 instantly. And like I said, we don't have an ego. So everybody we've interviewed, they are welcome to come anytime to come back on. That's the difference with us. We are a platform where if you got something valuable to say, we'll let you come back on anytime. Just schedule your time and we will let you on and you can say what you got to say. But like you said, I'm tired. I get in a fit of rage because I'm tired of the same talking points. We get it. We get what you're saying. We get it. We understand. What are you doing about it?
What's the
Like
solution?
I get tired of when these talking heads talk about, why isn't this taught in school? I don't care if it's taught in history. I mean, taught in school. You should tell your own story. That's what made me do the Liberian presidential series. That's what made me go do research on these presidents because I want to tell their stories because I want my story to be told. That is my job. That is our job to do. Talk
Yeah,
about why
what
did I
is
learn
the
this in school?
solution? What's
Having
the
your own,
solution?
we already know.
That's what people have to ask. It's like that's why I always ask, like I said, if you're in these forums, the question that you need to ask is what is the black agenda? What is the end game for black folks in America? And once you get the non-answer to those two questions, then you know exactly where to come to. Because the only way you're gonna get an answer if you come into the BAIO. Sorry.
Nobody's having these intense conversations what we're having. Nobody. And like he said black people following charismatic leaders is so played out and cringeworthy. It's like we don't want to be responsible for our own lives sometimes.
Yeah. Like Ronan said, talking heads don't have one. Constantly analyzing white supremacist ideology in America like it's a master class session. It's like, could you imagine going to college and getting a course in snake bites?
Stuff that's not going to do you any good in the real world.
You go there, the first day, the professor tell you, I want to tell you all something. Snakes bite. They're like, oh wow, really?
Like we didn't know that already.
Captain Obvious. But yeah, man, I know that we're on the right track because we're attracting people that's professional. We're attracting people who's not in this so-called conscious community crap and who actually want to get something done. And the only way you're going to attract those type of people, you got to talk the language that they used to talk and hearing. You got to communicate with them in their language. And we have a lot of professional people in our midst. Like I said, like, and Jabari, Ronan can go. If they put Ronan in either Rwanda or Liberia, he'll be a fucking billionaire. Just based on his experience alone. Minister DeWood, you like different people with different skill sets. Dundada. Like we just tired, man. We don't want to talk
Thank you,
about the
Ronan.
problem no more.
Thank you, Ronan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That comment right there says a lot.
Talking heads who want to do it right here. Never talk about traffic studies, geological land studies, having a connected electrical grid, the process of proper paving roads. I
Building
mean,
codes.
yeah, like in our midst, in our groups that where we chat, we talk about the difference between black and white asphalt. Who's having that discussion besides us?
We're talking about marine infrastructure, and we were talking about ocean colonization, about underwater construction, uh, ocean wind farms. We're talking about space travel. We're talking about how to redistribute stuff, making sure like how do we you know how do we do space tourism and space travel and possible space settlements? What is that going to do? How much is that going to cost? We're talking about, like you said, what happened in the Netherlands, where a train system is run completely on wind energy.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. We don't care about foolishness. We don't care about foolishness. Like, I get frustrated when I hear videos like a white supremacist did this to a brother. We get it. How many times do you got to keep telling me this? It's like telling me the sky is blue. You know the sky is blue, right? I know. I know. I know. I know. I know. I know.
Yeah, we was actually putting in articles and studying how people prevent floods. And there's a dude from what is Sweden, I think,
Mm-hmm.
or
He's from
Dutch
the
or
Netherlands.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, he's from the
Yeah,
Netherlands.
who they designed a system where they haven't been flooded yet. Despite all of these hurricanes and storms and stuff, they have not had their nation flooded out. They have not had a Katrina situation because they were involved in preventive measurements. And they asked the guy, man, it's like this costs millions of dollars. Like what? And the guy said, well, how much does it cost to fix Katrina after fix New Orleans after Katrina? That costs billions.
Yeah, like that's the thing. People always want to cut corners, and then when a catastrophe happens, people are like, "Man, we should have been." It's too late. Look at what happened with the what was it? The Surfside collapse.
Hmm.
Didn't want to do money and inspections and all that. The building collapses now, so we need to do more building regulations.
And you know where that cost cutting stuff come in? When you get politicians involved.
Hmm. No, not only that, when you don't have regulation, when you
Right,
deregulate everything and basically tell owners you can do what you want. Well, if there's no regulations, I'm going to cut corners. Why? Because the main goal is to reduce costs.
right.
He said I had to Fly Guy said I had to unsubscribe from some YouTubers when I found the BIO because they would just post stupid stories about some white person doing something to some black person and nothing gets resolved. And they keep bringing up these points, and when you actually think about it deeply, it makes no sense. They'll say we're in a war. No, you ain't in no war. If you was in a war, you would not be enemy territory right now. No way. There ain't no war going on. Please shut up.
You know what they describe the war as? If anybody ever watched an MMA fight, it's when a dude is on top grounding and pounding on somebody. That's not a war. That's somebody getting their ass kicked.
Right. That's just a fight. Like, you using a word that literally, if you said we were in a war, there would be so many refugees. There wouldn't be a there would be so many African American refugees. We would be flooding into different countries if we was in a real war. You don't see mass amounts of African Americans flooding into Cuba or flooding into Mexico. You don't see that. So what war are we in? You say, oh, we're in a psychological war. They're doing psychological warfare on us. And
And
my
how are you
response,
countering that?
exactly. What mechanisms do you have? What assets do you have to fight this? Please tell me. Do you have your own private internet servers? Do you have your own bot army? Please tell me what you got. Jokes.
You know what they got? They got the ability to describe the ass kicking. And then they want to pat themselves on the back because they was able to tell you how you got your ass kicked.
Yeah, like he said, the people talking about this war crap think they're so tough. Yeah, you're right, Fly Guy. Tell them, okay, let's do an actual war. Let's do a actual hot war, and let's see how tough you is. Why don't you go? Why don't you go fight over there? Why don't you go fight if you think you so tough?
Or how about
Come on.
fight here? Because isn't that what they saying that they can win a war here?
Yeah, so why don't you take up arms as y'all claim to do?
Where
Why
you going
don't
to
y'all
get the
do that?
arms from? Where you going to get the arms from?
Exactly.
Where you going to get your food supply from?
Not only that, who's going to be your supporters? Because you can't fight this alone. You're going to need some sort of foreign power. So, like, you ain't playing. And also, here's the thing: what defined territory do you have where black people are the majority? What state in America do black people have that is the majority that we run, that we control.
And keep in mind, when he says that we run, that means we control the infrastructure. Zero.
You don't even
Zero.
control the block. You don't even control the city and the block that you live in. He
Well,
said
you
they have
talking
no,
about going to war. Okay.
yeah, they have no idea what a war is like or how to combat one. They don't. They don't. They just
Like I
spew
said,
talking points.
you want to play. Who won the Super Bowl last year? Who was the last team that won?
Oh God, I forgot. Oh, the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers. You want to play the Buccaneers with street clothes on and dress shoes. That's what you want to do. You want to get a bunch of random people together and play an organized team. What the fuck do you think is going to happen?
You know what they might do? They might go easy on you. They might go easy on you to give you the impression that you're good. Because they know deep down inside, if we really was to play for real, you'd get demolished. But we can play you lightly.
And even then, with them playing lightly, a lot of people is going to the hospital. Because you don't even have pads and cleats and helmets. All you got is the spirit and your love of football. And that love is going to get stomped right out of you. You ain't going to love it after that game is over.
This got to be another truth. This is Fly Guy spitting out so much game like he always does. He says you're in a war with a country you don't control and still want to live under the control of another group. The irony, the irony. They don't get the contradiction.
Oh, Lord. That's why I know for me personally, I'm just done. I've I've disconnected myself from any political commentator that deals with U.S. politics because I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. What I want to be around is black folks that's trying to build something.
Now we care about African politics, but
Yeah,
otherwise, unless it deals with African politics, particularly like in West Africa where Liberia's at, nah, we good. We good. I agree because if you keep listening, I remember listening to this video, and Fly Guy might remember. Remember the video where one of them had sent it, one of his viewers sent in a message and saying, Phil, all he said, no, I don't think it was that person. I think it was somebody else. He was like, he said to the person, these videos are making me depressed. These videos make me feel like there's no hope. How do you muster up the strength and energy to keep going forward?
and what was the answer?
He said, "Well, some days I gotta leave and then I come back and like leave, go to the continent for a week or two, or like I'll go out the country, maybe Costa Rica somewhere, and then they'll come back knowing that." He said, "After I've been refreshed and all of that." And my whole gripe with that is, why would you keep coming back and forth? Like that doesn't make sense. Whew, it's
Because they
my
love the
God.
struggle, man. They love the struggle.
The
That's the answer.
struggle that is going to take a mental, psychological, and physical toll on you. We already know that black people are more likely to suffer stress related illnesses and die early, and you still want to do this struggle. Like I said, we focus on Liberia. At this point, we're focused strictly on Liberia and focused on building. That's all to us that matters. Because you guys say you want Black Wall Streets. We could have a Black Wall Street in every Liberian city that's ran by us. The government helps us. The government sponsors us. Um, hold on. Let me address what. Hold on. He said, I remember some black and talking heads mentioning black people should have a CIA built in America. He's right, foolishness, like
Oh my
foolishness.
God.
And you think the CIA is gonna allow that to happen?
Do we have to go, like, let's take a trip down memory lane. There's no such thing as we, us, and our in America. It doesn't exist. So stop referring to us as if we are some organized group, because we're not. We're in America, we're a bunch of scattered individualists. And the only thing that aligns us is aesthetic similarities. We look alike. People can look at us and identify us as black. But stop thinking that we're an organized group. We're not. So when people start talking this,
Hey,
we can do this and we can do that. What we are you talking about?
he ain't lying because you when we see black expatriates go to other countries, they completely disengage with politics. They don't even pay attention to what's going on in the government. They just like, listen, I'm just happy to be out. I don't care about nothing else. I'm an individual. It's never a group. We see this. So he's not wrong, but he's definitely speaking some truth on that. He said these war correspondents are sideline generals, telling the masses how to fight battle, yet have never gotten up off their couch, learn their war tactics from playing Call of Duty. Oh my god.
Bingo.
Uh,
A CIA. Like, I think the funniest conversation I ever had was with one of these ADOS people. And we were talking about reparations. And I said, well, how are reparations going to be doled out in America? You gonna let the U.S. government do it? And he's like, well, no, we're gonna form this committee and we're gonna do this organization. I said, so in other words, you forming a government? The exact same thing that you told me that we shouldn't be doing. That's what you're gonna do in order to get the reparations. Do you not understand what you're saying?
and let me add, he said we're gonna form a committee. That committee is gonna have to be approved by the US government because the US government could just say, we don't want that committee. We want to work with this committee.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's like trying to have a conversation on advanced mathematics with a toddler. And I'm not being an elitist when I say that, because there's certain conversations that I don't feel I should be involved in. I tell y'all that all the time in the BAIO. If
Mm-hmm.
it's not my skill and not my specialty, what the fuck am I in putting in my 2 cents for?
But and see, and that shows just how committed we are. But also that's a bonus because guess what? We're well rounded. Ish. We're well rounded, and that's a asset is to be well rounded. You can have your specialty, but I don't want somebody who isn't well rounded and they're speaking on like artificial intelligence and robots and don't know a single thing about artificial intelligence and robots. They don't have a degree in computer science. They haven't studied computer science. They haven't studied computer engineering. They haven't studied none of that. But they're gonna speak about robots and artificial intelligence and all this stuff, and they don't even know what it is. So it's good to be bonus, but like you said, we need experts. There's a reason why when you think about it, when we have our news station, we're gonna need experts. We can't be doing like how these black YouTubers are doing and just bring on random people. You're gonna need a war correspondent. You're gonna need an economics professor, economist. What else? Political analysis. People who are in political science. We're gonna need all of these people. Journalists. People who are certified journalists.
Yep. Skill trade. I love being around smart people. I love putting things in smart people's hands. I love delegating.
And also, I love not being the smartest person in the room.
Thank you. And that I don't have to worry about in the BAIO, because we got a bunch of brilliant people in our midst.
Or people who are willing to learn and willing to educate themselves. Because there is some stuff, holla. Even me as a civil engineer, when you was bringing it up, I was like, huh? Like, wait, what? We got to do that? Like, even you just taking the time, that means a lot. And that matters. I think that's one of the biggest things is at least educating yourself or trying to educate yourself. That matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm like, it's stuff that's not even within my range of education or like experience, but I'm interested in it because I know, like, I don't have to know how to build a bridge to know that we need one. I don't have to know how to build an irrigation system or maintain it to know that we need one.
I just need to address, and I'm glad way Five Guy you brought this up, but this needs to be addressed. We got to define, just like how they told me, whenever you define something, we got to define what the term weakness means, because I'm getting tired of that term being thrown weak, 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 weak. Like, it's like when people talk about men, if a man cries, oh, he's weak. If a man shows emotion, oh, he's weak. Like, we need to stop defining. We need to start defining what that word means. No, me saying I'm not going to fight white supremacy in America is not a it's not being weak. You're being realistic. Okay?
What does
You
that even
every
mean, Jabari? Like when they say fighting white supremacy, what do they mean by that?
I don't even know either. I don't even know. They can never explain. All they say is fight white supremacy. And then they'll tell you areas like we're fighting it socially, politically, economically. And I'm like, okay,
Oh
but
no, they not. I want some proof of that. Show me where you fighting it socially, economically, and politically. Where? They I'll know that they're serious when they do the basics. You know what the basics is? How about an institution where you could collect all of our resources? How about a black bank where all black people is putting their money into that black bank and all the black talking heads are telling our people to put their money in that black bank. All our celebrities are putting their money in that black bank. All our entertainers are putting their money in that black bank. If you can't even do that, I don't take nothing that you say seriously.
and also can we control the money supply? Because we don't control the money supply.
Well, that's too advanced. You got to talk about us being over in Liberia to do that. But I'm talking about, let's just say,
No, but
just for
that's the truth.
argument's sake, that we here in America, that this is where the people want to be. I'm talking to the do it right here people. How come you have not formed a national um fund for African Americans to put their money in and invest their money in on a monthly basis? Or how come you already have a black bank in existence? One United Bank was the largest black bank. How come you haven't told your people to start accounts in that bank? You can keep your money in Chase and the rest of them, but start an account in that bank.
It's the same thing. Thank you once again. But see, even when we talk about nation, I know we talked about this before, but even when it comes to the vaccine and we talk about us in our nation, right? We defer to experts. And we've talked about in America, the situation in America, that's an American creation. Okay, other countries are not having this issue for the most part. Most countries are getting their people vaccinated and all that stuff, but their countries value science and value experts, and that's what we here at the BIO do. We value experts. If I'm going to ask about a vaccine in our nation, I'm going to ask my virologist, my immunologist, my biochemist, my biologists, my biomedical engineers, my bioengineers. I'm going to be asking those people, okay, what's this vaccine? What does it do? What are the side effects and all that? I'm going to trust them. Not no conspiracy theories that ain't been uh
Yeah.
verified, been proven. Because you know this is right. They'll say they'll do research, right? And I'm most likely going to be doing grad school, right? That's funny. So can you tell me what math formulas you use to come to your conclusion? Can you tell me what materials you use? What was the research question? What was your inference? What was your hypothesis? What was your conclusion? Can you please tell me all of that you compiled, and can I see it?
And you want me to give you the two most dangerous words in the conscious community?
He already know.
Peer review. If nobody knows what that is, go look it up. You say peer
Hmm.
review. So we don't listen to our own scientists, our own medical experts. What we listening to is some dude in a kitchen with his shirt off boiling oranges. He
Not
that
people
now that's the credible source that we'll take our information from.
Not the people who are actually in the research labs, actually messing with chemicals, risking their own lives to make sure that we're taken care of. Not them. You're listening to a dude who's literally has no experience, probably got something that he read offline. Not people who are actually doing this for a living. But see, like Ronan said about Fly Guy, he said, Fly Guy, you did the right thing unsubscribing from that nonsense. Like this will rot your brain. It will. Like it demoralizes you. You get frustrated. You get angry. And you're just like, I'm done. I've had that constantly. That's why for me, living in America, I've had to completely disengage in politics and just pretend like I'm a normal person, like I don't know anything. Because being this conscious and being this aware and not being able to leave yet or not being able to have the means yet, it's demoralizing.
And especially what's frustrating for me is that I remember back when I was in the conscious community, this whole thing seemed like you're like a fly trying to eat a whale. Like our problem seems so insurmountable that like you said, you become frustrated, and most of the time most people just drop out because they say it's no way I'm going to beat this thing. But from the perspective that I'm looking at now, not only is that wrong, it's so goddamn fixable. There's not a problem that we have that cannot be fixed. And the only thing preventing us from fixing it is our mentality, the things that we choose to focus on. We've had people in the midst of the BAIO who haven't joined the BAIO, but they've been around us, they've been hearing us what we've been saying, and all they're interested in is talking about the problem over and over and over again. So when we come with the solution, that's a buzzkill. Because how are you going to create content for your YouTube channel if you're not talking about the problem? I mean, if you're going to pump that content out, you got to keep constantly talking about the problem, talking about white supremacy, talking about how this white person did this white person called somebody a nigger, blah, 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 blah. This black person got shot by the cops. That stuff keeps the content flowing.
And what did Umoja kept saying? And what did Umoja say about that? He said right there, I want to get to Dundada. He said the conspiracy theorists use other people's work to make their claim. They don't even do the work. That's lazy. Facts.
Exactly.
And Dennis made a great point. He says, in our government, it is that we make sure that no voices with knowledge and degrees, education in the area that you mentioned are not silenced. This is the issue here with the vaccines. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Because that's the thing. I mean, we've seen the crazy videos. We've seen doctors being assaulted by anti-maskers. We've seen doctors literally getting death threats. Doctors are getting so overwhelmed by the amount of death that they're seeing in the work hours they have to do. They are quitting. That's what's going on. They feel so underappreciated. They're being assaulted, they're being abused, they're being harassed. I mean, think about it as a doctor. You're trying to save people. You've been going to work for years. And then for an anti masker to come and threaten your life. And not only that, when younger people, because there was a teenage boy, and I kid you not, this happened in Tennessee, right? There was a teenage boy. His grandmother died from COVID. And he said, we need a mask mandate, right? Do you not know that the parents in the room, the grown adults, were laughing at him, saying, "Oh no, his mother didn't die from COVID." That's the sick, twisted mindset that the system that we live in right now. That's how sick and twisted that literally you have grown adults acting like children. They don't want to wear a mask. They're urinating literally in front of a store counter, coughing on people, coughing on food, breaking bus windows.
Oh, I got one for you, Jabari. This is the ultimate drop the mic nail in the coffin. Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, all of these right wing talking heads who push this red meat to their base, all them motherfuckers is vaccinated.
Period.
So the motherfuckers who's preaching this stuff about, oh, can't trust it, all of them are vaccinated, and you morons are following them. That says it all right there. That says everything you need to know.
Yeah, and remember they got. Oh, my bad. He said they're quitting. He said they're quitting because they don't want to be mandated to take the vaccines. They have knowledge and questions about some of them. Some of them that is true, but I don't understand this. If you're anti-vax, why are you in the medical field? If you don't believe in modern medicine, why are you in the medical field? Like, I'll never forget this. There was a story in Germany where a nurse, because she didn't believe in the vaccine, injected people with salt water,
Yeah.
and that was 8,000 of them.
Yep.
And everybody on Twitter was like, "Listen, if you don't believe in modern medicine, why are you in the medical field?" It's wild. And like you said, they're vaccinated, and they got offended when Joe Biden said that. They said they were getting mad at him. They're speaking the truth. Your company says it's mandated that you got to wear the vaccine. All these conspiracy people pushing you shouldn't get the vaccine, they getting vaccinated.
Yep. All of them are vaccinated. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, then you are a moron. They know what butters their bread. They know to push conspiracies butters their bread. So they
But
use you as a willing dupe to do it. And you go along with it. In the meantime, they're safe. Their family's safe. They ain't got to worry about nothing.
yeah, they making sure they said they know the science. They know it. Otherwise they wouldn't have gotten it. They got it because they know. Listen, I better be safe than to be sorry. Shoot, I'm not gonna be like some of these other fools and end up being in the grave. No, nope,
Yeah.
that's not happening to me.
How
So
many
let me.
people, how many more stories do we have to hear about people um on their deathbed saying, damn, I should have took the vaccine?
Yep.
That's a real
And
thing. Ain't nobody's making that shit up. But
yeah,
like,
that's
you know
real.
what? You know what I'm saying? And this is another part that people don't realize. When a person becomes vaccinated, they don't technically have to wear the mask anymore. You know why they wear the mask? For
It's
the
because
unvaccinated.
vaccinated. Yep.
Isn't that some shit?
Yeah, so you're imposing your stuff on us. We took the time to get vaccinated, and I have to put this mask on because the unvaccinated don't want to do their part in protecting themselves and getting vaccinated. So now we got to wear masks because of it. And the thing that irks me, and remember this, right? And this is what we talk about when we think about stuff, right? This is the thing about us. And like Fly Guy said, you know, the BIO brightens my day whenever I see content on YouTube and the people working together to fix our situations with viable solutions and tangible outcomes. Thank you so much, and that is our goal. Um, and Dundada said, I don't feel sorry for the people who don't get the vaccine. Same. I've ran out of empathy. Like, some people say we should have remorse, but no, you were avidly anti-vax, anti-mask, believing COVID's not a thing. You get COVID and then you die. We're supposed to have remorse and sympathy for something you knew. We told you this happened and you chose not to. And to elaborate on that, some people got upset when some health doctor said, if you are unvaccinated knowingly and you get COVID, we will not treat you. And some people said that's not fair. They shouldn't be doing that. Listen, let's explain this holla from this point. we already know the ICU beds and the COVID and all that stuff, right? Are, you know, overcapacitated. The doctors are at capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So now let me ask you this question. Where do I go if I get in a car accident? Where do I go?
Right.
What happens if I get injured? Where am I supposed to go to get care?
And if you're not vaccinated, should you get priority over somebody that is? I mean, these are questions. You got a limited amount of beds. How do you prioritize?
Mm-hmm. And
But
we've
see,
all
I don't
heard
want. I want to be clear on this. I'm not taking a stance one way or another, and I
we're
always
not.
point people to that. I don't. I'm not endorsing anything. So
Yeah.
if
But
you
what
don't
we're
want to
just
take
saying,
it,
yeah,
right?
but the thing about it is take precautions. Like I was watching on the View, and I watched the View because I do watch some mainstream stuff. But she was like, "Listen, if you don't want to take the vaccine, fine, just put on a mask. If you don't want to take the vaccine, just put on a mask, please. Because like she said, you can't have it both ways. Okay, if you don't want to take the vaccine, fine, go ahead. You don't have to. Nobody's forcing you, but."
Wear a
Please wear a
mask.
mask and do your part. Please just do that simple thing. If you don't want the vaccine, just wear a mask. Nobody's at, but then they'll say, I don't want to wear the mask. Well, you can't have it both ways.
So you don't want to wear a mask and you don't want to take the vaccine. So you just comfortable passing your shit on to everybody. See, that's the thing. It's like they only think about freedom from their perspective. Like all right, let's look at it. If you don't want to take the vaccine, private companies have the right to determine whether they want somebody in their business who's vaccinated or not. You have a choice. You can either go to that business or you cannot. They didn't take away your freedom.
Right.
But see, what
That's a,
people want to have their choices, and they want to control their choices, but they also want to control your response to their choices.
and also and Bruce, nobody's talking about, forcing people against their will or something they don't want to do. Here's the thing. With freedom comes responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility. That's the biggest problem. Nobody wants to be adult in the room and say, "Fine, listen, I don't want to take the vaccine, but I'm gonna wear a mask. I'm gonna socially distance. I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing my part."
And
Instead,
also, yeah,
oh,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jabari. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
instead you got people being reckless. They don't care. We had a story where a man who was unvaccinated literally gave his 15-year-old daughter COVID and she died from it for
And I'm gonna
reckless
tell you,
behavior.
I am against authoritarianism.
Right. Nobody is saying we're
I'm totally against it. But here's the thing: did like let's say a restaurant decides that you can't get into their restaurant unless you are vaccinated, they didn't take away your rights. You don't have a right to go to a fucking restaurant.
exactly. That's a privilege.
So
That's
why
not.
why are people acting as if they're being forced? You know?
And also here's the thing. That's the government. That's not private companies.
Right,
Okay, when people talk about freedom of speech, that is the government. The government can't come and arrest you because of what you believe in. But as a private company, I have every right to decide on what I think should be allowed in my company.
right. And if they decide that we're not letting anybody in here unless they vaccinated, they are well within their rights to do that. That is not taken away from your rights
And
because
like,
you don't have to go there. This just recently happened to me, actually. Um, in Brooklyn, I go. It's this theater that I go to. It's a dine-in theater, and I wanted to see the Shang-Chi movie. I went there. I got my tickets. No, I got my ticket before they had made the mandate. So I got it like in advance. And so I went on the website and I checked to see if there was any restrictions, and there wasn't any on the website. So I went to the theater with my ticket, and when I get there, there's a sign saying you can't get in unless you're vaccinated. So I had to get a refund. Did they take away my rights?
And also we need to be defined on what people mean by authoritarian, because that words just get thrown around with no meaning. When I mean by authoritarian, I'm talking about China type political. We don't got a China type political thing. That's the thing that be irking me. People act like we got a China political system where there's a great firewall, mass surveillance everywhere. China's got the most cameras in the entire world. Social, we don't have that. Okay, nobody is telling you literally what to think and how to think. What we're saying is, listen, there are consequences for your actions.
Right.
Everything has consequences, and you have to decide. Just like, for example, let's tie this back to all what we're talking about with these preparations for Liberia, right? George Weah did all the corruption, and as a consequence, his image is tarnished. But that's a consequence that he inflicted on himself. He
Right.
knew the situation. He chose not to do it. He chose not to correct it. Instead, he delved deeper into it. And as a consequence, he has a negative image and people don't like him. That's called consequences. That's not called, oh, the people are out just hating on me and all this other stuff. No, that is a consequence. And people need to understand consequences. That's all we got to say. I know we're approaching the 2 hour mark, and of course, I don't want to keep things forever. And we'll talk about, if you're signed up to the BIL website, we're gonna have more conversations in the lounge and in the Discord later on tonight. But just that's my thing. Even when we talk about this preparation, consequences, actions have consequences. If
And
you want,
remember
okay.
what you were saying about public policy too?
Mm-hmm.
That's something else that people leave out of the fact. What are you doing for the public good? Do you want a bunch of if you know scientifically what the effects of a virus is, are you going to allow people to just be amongst people and infect them because they want to express their personal freedom?
And here's one thing I want to bring up, because I know people say, well, if the government really cared about things, what about smoking? They use the situation with smoking. Listen, if you smoke, holla, am I gonna get lung cancer from it? If you smoking doesn't affect me because that's your lungs. That's not my. It's not gonna be transmitted to my lungs. There's no smoke bacteria and smoke virus that's going to come into my lung if you smoke a cigarette or you smoke weed. But you having COVID, a virus and a bacteria, that affects me, because that virus is going to go in whatever host it needs to be in. It doesn't
And
care about what I think.
it's so stupid. Bruce Leroy, this is real simple. If you don't want to get a vaccination, wear a goddamn mask. It's that simple.
Think about others. Think about others and not just yourself. That's all we're saying. Think about your comp. When we talk about nationhood, let's get back to nation about that. In our nation, we want the people to look out for each other and think as the collective, not just for themselves. That's why here at the BIO, we have a we and not a me mentality. The reason why is because nationhood is a collective measure. It takes everybody, not just two or three individuals. Okay. And we think about the collective.
That's right. And if you have a government that you want to be responsible for the people and represent the people, they have to look out for the interest of the people. And I totally understand that when you have a worldwide pandemic, the need for you to want to get control of that and to protect the people. And also, it's for selfish reasons too, as far as the United States government goes. Because don't you think that they want to get people back out there and get this economy back the way that it was? They want people out there buying shit,
Exactly.
engaging in commerce. This does not do them any good.
Okay, and I really I really want to address Bruce Leroy, and then I'll address Ronan's point. He says you can't pick and choose freedom. People have the right to make their decisions. You're right. Here's the thing. I could apply this to another point. I should have the freedom to drive however fast I want to on the highway. Why do I have to drive 60 to 70 miles an hour on the highway? Why can't I drive 100 miles or 200 miles out on the highway? That's my freedom. I should have the decision to do so.
Yeah. Why should we have speed bumps in urban areas? Why can't you just ride through the streets at 100 miles per hour? Is that taking away your freedom? Like I said, it's like people want to pick and choose this shit. And he's right. You can't pick and choose. That's exactly what I'm saying. You can't pick and choose.
You say driving is a privilege, not a right. You're right. But guess what? You
So it's going to the
working at this,
movies.
yeah, just like you going to the movies, you working here and there, that's your call. That's a privilege. That's not a right. That's not a right. I don't have to do that.
Yeah, you can stay home. You don't have to go to work.
Yeah.
But you making that decision has consequences.
Consequences. It's
Why do
that
everybody
simple.
want to avoid the consequences? You want the freedom to make the choice, but you don't want the consequences that come with the choice. If you decide that you don't want to get a vaccination in New York, then you're going to be severely limited in the amount of places you can go inside. That's the consequence of your decision.
Right. At the end of the day, that's still your decision.
So I don't, it's like this whole thing is people being forced, and they're not being forced to do anything.
Also, here's the thing. When you talk about being forced, like we're being forced to take the vaccine, if the government really wanted to force people to take the vaccine, they would just come to your house and just inject it into you. They wouldn't be saying, here are all the places you can get the vaccine. We're going to make it easily accessible to you. Nah, if we were going to force it, we would just simply go to your house and tie you down and give it to you. Ridiculous. He said, we have people taking ivermectin, a dewormer medication for COVID-19. I would rather wear a mask than take a med. I don't understand that. You literally have a vaccine, but you don't want to take, but you want to take a dewormer because you want to find a cure for COVID-19. I just can't. Like I said, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over it.
Yeah, it's exhausting, man. That's a
Yeah.
rabbit hole I don't want to go down. And
Yeah.
that's not discrimination.
It's not. Thank you. Okay, because technically it's discrimination if I choose vanilla ice cream over chocolate ice cream. That's technically discrimination, right? Because I'm choosing chocolate ice cream over vanilla ice cream. That's technically discrimination. You wearing blue instead of you wearing red is technically discrimination. But see, that's a dumb argument. That doesn't make sense. Okay,
Is
you
there
can.
an emergency? That's what I want to know. Is there a pandemic? Is there or is there not? Is there such a thing as a coronavirus? Yes or no? I mean, are we even actually having that discussion? Is there a need to ask that question?
But this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with, and this is why, like I said, this is why you need to come to people like us, because we break stuff down rationally. We look at things through the entire. Listen, you said ice cream is not protected by the Constitution. Um, Neither is the only thing the Constitution, and the Constitution doesn't even prohibit discrimination. That's the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and then technically under the 14th Amendment. But guess what? It took the Supreme Court to rule for gay marriages that you cannot discriminate on a marriage because of somebody's sexual orientation. Because prior to that, and it was literally 6 years ago, I remember that day. Okay. Prior to that, states could deny gay people that rights.
And people were comfortable with that. That wasn't discrimination, right? They were, see, that's what I'm saying, picking and choosing. I went even further. I say if you want to discriminate and say that a person is not entitled to all the rights that come as them being a citizen, that person should not have to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have it both ways. You're saying no, you cannot get full all the benefits and all the rights of a citizen. Well, then I shouldn't pay taxes.
And Dundada made a great point. People forget they forced black people to vaccinate back in the days. They would come to their doors and force their way in. People tripping. They don't want that smoke. Exactly. Like I said, nobody is coming to your doorstep and literally strapping you down and putting the vaccine into you. Nobody is doing that.
Yeah, you have a choice.
Ridiculous.
You have a
But
choice. If you choose not to, it's going to be very uncomfortable for you. And that's the consequences of you making that choice. Do you want, I don't understand. Do you want to make the choice and then you want to be comfortable too? So you want everybody to accommodate the choice that you made? Because it sounds to me like you don't respect other people's rights. Does the business have a right to look out for the safety of their patrons?
okay, he said the court didn't change the existing law. The 14th Amendment is not a law. Okay, let's get that straight. The 14th Amendment is not a law. Okay, it's not a law. Okay, it's an amendment. Okay. Secondly, most of the protections came from the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Okay, that's a law. The 14th Amendment helps enforce it so that nobody takes it away. But it's a law and it can be abolished.
We're
Jeez.
going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, like it's just my God. Like, but see,
We
once
can
again, this
attack
is
this some other time.
yeah, it's just my God. Like this whole live stream, like we said, people just they don't look at specifics. They don't understand like there's a lot of factors that go into things and you have to make those decisions. Like I said, nobody's forcing you, but we all understand our actions come with consequences. Everything that we're doing, we know has consequences and we're ready for them and we embrace it. And so I would just leave y'all with this with the preparation for Liberia. What we do in Liberia is going to have consequences. That's an example of what we do in Liberia next year is going to have consequences. What we do prior to it is going to have consequences. It is our job to make sure we do everything that is needed and make sure we have everything in order for it to succeed, in order for the way administration to succeed, and so that it doesn't get co-opted and we can have a blast 2022. But it all starts with coming with that understanding that one, you need skilled people. Two, you need people who are willing to take the risk and take the consequences that come with it and provide you solutions. That's all I got to say. And I'll leave you all up with the last word.
Yeah, I just want to say, um, if you have doctors, lawyers, professional people, people in STEM, people in agriculture, people in science, and these people don't have a place to be around other people of like mind, direct them to the BAIO website, baioafricstan.org/register. Have them come and be a part of the team, and let's build and let's map out a future for our people instead of complaining and bitching and moaning and getting a teary eyes and snotty nose about the white man. And that's all I'll say on that.
All right, fam. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the video. Make sure you sign up to the website. If you sign up to the website, we're going to be having our lounge conversation. It's going to be great. Like as always is, we always bring that fire. But yeah, like Holub said, if you want a place where people are having valuable discussions, vivid discussions, discussions about improving relations, building a future with actual results and not just giving you dreams, but giving you a blueprint on how to succeed, join the BIO. And of course, this is Jabari and Hall Up. Peace, fam.
Peace.